How's it going, movie fans? My name is Jonathan and I'm a man of movies, and today we're going to be tackling one of Netflix's newest horror films. But listen, that is not what excites me most. What's actually really exciting about this is that this is only part 1 of 3, with Netflix releasing each individual part week by week. I'm so excited for this, guys. Small disclaimer, if you do hear rain in the background, I apologize. I am in Florida and we are about to go through a hurricane in the next day or two, so if that bothers you, not much I can do about it. But again, let's get into Fear Street Part 1, 1994 is directed by Lee Janik and stars Kiana Madeira, Julia Rehwald, Benjamin Flores Jr., Fred Hechinger, and Olivia Scott Welch. This is adapted from R.L. Stine's very famous young adult books. After a brutal slaying, a teen and her friends take on an evil force that's plagued their notorious town for centuries. I wasn't really in the know with Netflix planning this to be a trilogy within each week coming up, but I ended up really enjoying my time with 1994. There is this vibe of Goosebumps, and it is R.L. Stine, so it's gonna have that vibe. But there is adult level horror here attributed that made me really think this was a refreshing take for a horror film, and in the end, had me very intrigued for what the next coming weeks are gonna bring me. The lore established in about 1 hour and 45 minutes was the selling point for me. I knew that this was going to be some sort of anthology series, but I thought that the first movie was going to tackle its own thing like American Horror Story, with episode 2 introducing us to new characters, new settings, new problems, and I was semi-right, because here is a story that establishes this terrorizing New England town, our 5 protagonists, and what they are going through, while at the same time introducing minor plot points and settings and other characters that are sure to play a part in the coming films. I must say that while I was enamored by that intro with the skull-faced killer stalking Maya Hawke through this 90s style mall in the vein of a 1996's Scream, and I was genuinely invested in the consistent homages to 90s classics like I Know What You Did Last Summer and the aforementioned Scream, I did feel like there was a lack of a distinct voice in all this horror, that while I did give it 2 thumbs up, they were 2 reluctant thumbs up due to the simplistic nature of the plot. But I'll say this, I do think that what aids in the crafting of the film's aesthetic are the characters and their relationships with one another. Kiana Madeira's Dina is the final girl, but the killer hardly acknowledges her, and I don't see that as a bad thing. I thought that was pretty new, and I enjoyed that. And while everyone else in the plot harkens back to cliche horror stereotypes, the stakes don't feel like that. And we get integrated horror-filled twists and turns that I didn't see coming, and I'd be surprised if you saw coming, especially with the grocery scene climax toward the end of the film. But I'm gonna keep reiterating this. It was a fun time that has enough lore to differentiate it from other horror classics like this plot with a witch that may or may not be responsible for all the brutal slayings, but I can't help but clamor for more originality, with 1994 seeming like a film we've all seen before. There are 2 things I want to touch on before I wrap it up, and the first one has to be how much I enjoyed the graphic nature of the horror. I thought it was a great change of pace for horror projects like this. Goosebumps is very much a family type of project. You're not going to see stuff like that in Goosebumps. And I know Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, a lot of people may say it reminded them of it. I didn't like that movie. I thought this movie was a lot better. This movie, even if I say did not have a distinct voice, executed what it had perfectly compared to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And 2, what was up with every time it would jump from scene to scene, they always had to include a cheap jump scare. No matter who was on screen, or if the topic they were talking about wasn't even scary, it always had a cheap jump scare. To wrap it all up, the first of 3 films in the Fear Street trilogy was a great jumping off point, with it introducing a really interesting central conflict, a villain, protagonist, and tying up this story with next week's film. And while I did want something more original, I thought that this love letter to older horror films infectiously delivered a quality outcome. Fear Street Part 1, 1994 is a repeat watch. Those are just my thoughts. Have you seen the first part of the Fear Street trilogy, 1994? Did you like it? Was it too hyped up for you, or was it right in the middle? Let me know in the comments below. But like always, like this video, share this video with family and friends, and subscribe to my channel. Till next time, movie fans.